My favorite thing to eat is sushi. I am obsessed with Japanese food and raw fish. So I ordered a dish that cost a fortune, was worth every penny. Toro, which is fatty belly tuna, and beluga caviar in the middle. So it's formed like a volcano with the caviar going down and spilling over. I just loved it. And then I stopped eating it for a few minutes because there were a few bites left. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I can bear to see this disappear. And those bites, they tasted even more spectacular because that was it. I was finishing up. That's how I feel about life. No one is going to stop me from living the fullest, most spectacular years I have left. I am determined to make them wow years. And where did I learn that? I just believe it. And you can too. It's a better way to age. Well, hi everyone. This is Diane Gilman, formerly known as the Queen of Jeans, but now the proud host of my podcast, Too Young to Be Old. And speaking about being too young, always, to be old, celebrating, gulp, deep breath, my 79th birthday. And I would like to just give you a little peek into what that's like. And I will say that 79 is kind of preparatory for the big decade birthday, 80th birthday. I've got to say, I see these as the bonus years. I see this as a very exclusive club. We all begin to enter at around 70, actually. And I think, honestly, every single moment is a gift. I would have to say, and there are plenty of, high spots, beautiful, incredible experiences at this age. My greatest one would be celebration. First of all, I was a wild child. It's amazing I even survived through the 60s and the 70s. But I find at this time in life, and for me, I don't even say I'm 79. I say almost 80, because I think that decade is so profound. Those of us that have lived a full life, those of us who have survived to an amazing age number, are definitely, to me, almost chosen. And so with that in mind, what did I relate to when I was younger as what aging would be? I thought it would be silence. I thought it would be being shoved aside, becoming background noise rather than the main act. And I thought to myself, I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to do it this way. And I think I've related before. I had much older parents. So I was born in 1945. Very rarely did this happen at that point to a woman, my mother, who was 45. Hi, it's Diane Gilman. Guess what? If you are in the same bucket I'm in, which is women over 50, and you're thinking to yourself, how do I find out the best products to use? Maybe you've heard me talk about Purity Woods. And maybe you've asked me, I don't know, Diane, why do you love it? I'll tell you. Your skin is your passport to your visual to the world. If your skin is glowy, if your skin is healthy, you just generally look younger and are treated as a more vibrant personality. Why do I like Purity Woods? 100% organic. There is so much pollution in the air, so much pollution even if I go to wash my face with tap water. so many chemicals. I truly appreciate products that not only feel pure, but the scent of Purity Woods is just unbelievably refreshing. So, you know what? Give it a try. Get a discount using the code in the caption. Purity Woods. I love these products, and two of my very favorites from Purity Woods are the makeup remover, the exfoliator, which is just sort of like magic. So also, ladies, remember one more thing. As we age past 50, we do not turn over our skin cells as quickly as we did in our 20s, 30s, or 40s. You need not only a great makeup remover, but you need a great exfoliator to urge new skin cells to come to the fore. Purity Woods, they've got it all. My parents aged very rapidly, and what they wanted out of aging was not to have to work. They didn't mind budgeting. They didn't mind cutting down their activities. And I thought to myself, cutting coupons out of a weekly ShopRite newspaper is not my idea of aging. So I have to say, I, from a young age, was very anti-classical aging. I wanted to age differently. I wanted to age better. I wanted to age more importantly. I wanted to have purpose and goals. And so when I retired last year, and at the age of 78, I knocked around the house for a couple of weeks and thought, oh, I'm totally out of the rhythm of society. Everybody else is getting up, getting dressed, going to work, doing something productive. So that is when I was offered my own podcast with a guest host, and I started that and then went on to be the host. That is when I understood something about myself I don't think I had ever really had knowledge of as a younger woman, which is, for me, the key between youth, middle age, and aging successfully into your 70s, your 80s, and beyond is, for me, the need to succeed. That never left me. I always feel this huge satisfaction when I do a really good podcast. And the next thing was never stop learning. So one thing podcasting does for me, because I focus on over 50, over 55, what you can learn about your health, about exercise, diet, mental attitude, and honestly, conquering new ground, because you can at any age. I never stopped learning. So I think the other thing that is very new to me, but feels so right, is I am no longer going to gauge my life by lifespan, more about health span. That opens up a whole other door. So let me say something to you. The first thing, if I was going to give advice, is if you are dropped out of the corporate world in your mid 50s, that is a world that no longer recognizes your worth or wants to pay you what you're worth or wants to hear your ideas. Everything is focused on youth. If you want to go back into a world again where you are feeling motivated forward and productive and really structuring your days and your life, be an entrepreneur. There is nothing more entrepreneurial than being on the internet, being on social media, and being a podcaster. And I took skills I learned from being on television for 30 years and being in fashion for 50 years, because how I present myself is a big believability factor, I think. And I transferred all of that. But what I didn't do was I left behind the corporate angst, the infighting, the feeling of a million different agendas going on at once. It was so toxic to me. And the other thing, and I think that this is something we can all learn from, I knew what I was doing when I was on television. I was on HSN and QVC. I'd been there for 30 years. I'd been number one for 25 years, number one fashion personality. And I could have done it in my sleep. I could have done it in a semi-coma, honestly. But is that really good for you? And my thought to myself was, who was I as a younger woman? I was a risk taker. I was adventurous. I believed in myself, and I loved, dearly loved my talent as a fashion designer. But then I learned my talent of being a commentator in front of a camera. And that's what I took with me. And I suggest for anybody who is just going into retirement, and maybe it's even forced retirement, and you're thinking, oh my God, what am I going to do with the rest of my life? There's years ahead of us, because actually, biologically, they've just proven the human body can live 120 years. So now you start thinking to yourself, well, wait a minute. I'm 50. That means I've got another 70 years. Help! Society is not supportive of us. My generation, the baby boomers and the generations before, after, of doing anything big. You're never told you're never too old to dream. But the truth is, you are never too old to dream. And I dreamt of becoming a silver-haired influencer. Really good as a host. And I set out and studied it and watched other women on air as anchors of major television shows. And I thought, okay, I can take that from her and that from her. And I think I can sound like that and make it my own and do that. So actually, as I went into retirement, I made me my favorite project. And you know, whether you want to be in front of a camera, or whether you want to be baking chocolate chip cookies and maybe taking to the hospital every week and giving them out to patients, guess what? You're doing something you're good at, you're doing something that you love, and you're doing something with purpose that has a good conclusion for society. Because honestly, you do have to start thinking about your legacy here. I call this modern aging. What does modern aging mean? It means you're aging smarter, you're keeping your brain active, you're learning all of these new proposed alternative treatments and lifestyles that can make health span really work with age span, and you're living longer. Now, who wants to live longer unless you're living comfortably and in many ways satisfying your spirit as much as you are your body? Well, I have a big goal at 79, aka almost 80, and that is this year is going to be devoted to age less, aging less quickly through my own devices, better diet, better exercise, better mental attitude. And I don't want to be so identified by my age anymore. I want to become ageless. So age less marries with ageless. The other day, I was with somebody who is a great person, very sweet, but not particularly totally self-aware. And they said to me, and they didn't mean any harm, but they said, so what do you do to kill time? And I said, excuse me, kill Time? What are you talking about? Time is my most precious commodity at this point in my life. And he said, I mean, you're retired now. You got nothing to do. Do you play mahjong? He said, because that's what you old people do, right? And I thought to myself, this is absolutely, without a doubt, the stereotypical attitude towards age. That you age through middle age, and then you hit a certain point. It could be 55, it could be 60, 65, and you fall off a cliff. And there's no place for you left in society. You're not going to do anything meaningful. You're not going to find the cure for cancer. You're not going to do this. You're not going to represent that. You're just going to kind of fade off into the sunset. Well, there are those of us who don't want to fade away. As a matter of fact, we'd like to go out with big fireworks. And that is definitely me. And when we talk about our 70s, I think that has been, honestly, the most challenging and yet the happiest decade of my life. So during my 70s, at 72, 2017, Christmas Eve, diagnosed with stage 3 breast cancer. I was like, what the bleep? Are you kidding? After everything I've been through in my life, I thought this was like going to be smooth sailing. I was going to be on the cruise of my life, just cruising along. Wrong. But what I did with that experience was it became the most meaningful experience of my life in terms of altering and changing and honing and polishing my whole attitude towards the rest of the human race, towards who I wanted to become when I got out of treatment, and how I wanted to treat others and improve their life experience. I made that my goals. I know it sounds really altruistic, but it actually is true. I'm very aware of my legacy. And so when I look back on the 2 years of treatment I had, I can't recall the pain, nor do I want to, but my life lessons I hold near and dear and right next to my heart. That was the most amazing learning curve I've ever experienced. So I will say to you, yeah, there are diseases, there are conditions, there's all kinds of stuff that can happen to you as you get older. How you interpret that and weave that into the rest of the tapestry of your life, that's up to you. And if you want to do it as a shining orb of light, it is available. So I have to say, the one thing that is so difficult for me is I am a worrywart, total worrywart. I worry about everything. Oh, I'm not growing fast enough. Oh, I'm not popular enough. Oh, I'm not good enough as a host. Oh, I'm not this. Oh, I'm not that. But I never seem to revel and enjoy the moment. So if I had to give anybody advice, I would say, as you age, do not dwell on the past. You're never going to be 20 again. So stop the mourning process for losing youth. You can't go back. You can celebrate milestones in your previous lives, which is what I call my other decades, my younger decades. But you are only going to drive yourself nuts if that's where you want to be, because you cannot cohabit there. And don't worry about the future. That is always my issue. Oh, am I going to do this right? Am I going to make enough? Am I going to be there by next year? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Plan your future. And that is a key point to modern aging. Your future is worth it. Make it happen. Plan it out. Go for the highest dream you can go for. Don't cost you anything, but you may just through manifesting it and dreaming it and wanting it, achieve it. And in the meantime, and I'm talking to me, to enjoy the present. Think about it this way. You'll never be younger than you are today. Work with it. Now, as I came out of breast cancer, I realized the career I had been in forever, tele-retail and fashion, was perhaps not appropriate for my health recovery and where I wanted to be right now. And the real truth was, I never even thought about being on television. I got on television at the age of 47. Everything has happened to me later in life. And that was only through just a series of improbable opportunities. And I have to say, 47 going on air, by about 50 becoming number one fashion personality on tele-retail. At 60, inventing the middle-aged gene and shooting up to $100 million a year company, then taking it internationally. And I only walked away from television at the age of 77 and a half. I could have stayed forever, but you know what? I'm a risk taker. I'm an adrenaline junkie. You know, if you are lucky enough to be very self-aware, and trust me, if you're in front of a camera, hours every week, you are going to be pretty self-aware. And if you're not, your listeners, your viewers are going to make comments that are going to say, oh, why don't you? Why shouldn't you? What are you doing? And you will start to understand your 360-degree point of view about you. So I wanted something new, and I was lucky enough and pragmatic enough to say, what can you do? Well, I can't cook, not good at housemaking, really want to give up the throne in fashion to a younger generation. But I can talk, and I can talk in front of a camera, and I'm good at telling stories. And here we are. And I am almost 80 years old. I always say 79 is going to be the dress rehearsal for 80. And I think that modern aging is basically aging smarter with as much information as you can get about all your alternatives and therefore living longer. This is not a period of your life where you can abuse your body, where you can get no sleep, where you can be eating foods that are fantastically destructive. But I think if you make you your favorite project, it's almost like a game. And it's so fascinating to me. That's why I did make my podcast about everything new, everything that can propel you into a healthier, happier state after the age of 50, 55. Because there is so much new out there on the horizon that conservative modern medicine doesn't provide you with. Red light therapy, oxygen therapy, cryotherapy, which is cold. Don't like that. And I have indulged in these, and I can tell you they are a great help. So that if you find that one of the worst things about growing older is you're starting to get those aches and pains, nobody has a good remedy for you. You don't want to take pain pills. You're having mobility issues like I am with my right knee. There are alternatives. I'm now taking supplements. Oh my gosh, they're fantastic. They really are helping me solve my joint problem in my knee. I am on a much healthier diet, and I have more energy, and I shed a lot of weight, which really, again, help with my mobility issues. Whatever you're thinking right now, like, oh, I'm so alone and, there's no real help. And all I ever see on television are all these depressing commercials about people with some illness, and here's the medicine you take to fix it, but I don't even know. And there's so much you can do for yourself. And one thing I think is key to modern aging is taking responsibility for where you're at and knowing that you have the opportunity to better your situation, whether it's a money situation, a health situation, an emotional situation. Purpose, focus, and manifest. Those are part of my mantra. So I know I want to have purpose. What is my purpose? At 79 years old, it's actually leading my generation, the baby boomer generation, and the one immediately below it, Gen Xers and even millennials, into thinking more proactively. So rather than having some health issue happen to you, if you start to feel something creeping up, you listen to other podcasts as well as mine. You read up on it. You come to conclusions and you see there may be a solution that's very modern, that's not in the mainstream of medicine yet, but is going to work for you. Because the picture that society paints for us of aging is miserable, limited, decline. It doesn't have to be that way at all. And I want to give you some actionables. But first, I want to say, as you are aging, don't take anything for granted. I took my health for granted. I kind of knew there was something wrong, but I just didn't want to deal with it. I just took it for granted. I'd never even spent a night in the hospital when I was diagnosed with breast cancer. And so I thought I could get away with it. And or you think something is like good health or what purpose is going to last forever, but you cannot be that rigid. And certainly, honestly, it is almost like feeling blessed to live under an umbrella of gratitude the way I do. I am so grateful for still being here and feeling good and feeling purposeful. And at 79 years old, that is not what I was taught. That was not what society told me I was going to be or how it was going to be. And society, in fact, says when you retire, stop dreaming. Stop trying to attain anything. Don't try anything new. You're too old. You know what? That guy that said to me, oh, you old people. What? This is really nuts. I have white hair because I wanted white hair. But that almost puts me into an age ghetto. And I want to talk about that for a minute. I want experiences and knowledge with all levels of age. Yeah, I joined a couple of clubs for women, and the majority of us, I would say 95%, are around my age. And I'm feeling like I need much more variety. And I certainly need younger input because they're the ones that come to me with something current where I'm saying, really? Oh, okay. Like we just did a podcast on biohacking. They all knew what it meant. I'm like, biohacking? What? Is that something you do to your computer? No, it's all about getting all of these new treatments into a form that you understand and telling you you can supplement what you're doing with your body by bringing in new ideas, new inventions, new versions of healthful living. Not only do I not take a moment for granted, I never want to say to myself anything limiting. I never even think to myself, oh, you're too old. If I want to do something and it's going to be challenging, I will find the way. But I want to propose this. Don't be bitter about old age. I know so many people that are, and they long for the past. And they long for a time in life, which for me was my 20s and 30s, going into my 40s, where everything was pretty automatic. You could eat amazing amounts of junk, get away with it. You could drink, you could party, you could be, I was always flying around the world to work and never getting enough sleep, and it's all okay. And then there comes a point when it's not. I find that sometimes I will turn around and think, oh, getting older is such a pain in the butt. You know, I drop things more often. And I go to get angry at myself and I say, now, wait a minute. There are certain things, minor things, that just come with the territory. But one thing you've got to do, I will tell you that aging is a privilege. And this is the very best time to learn to love yourself. Learn to appreciate what your talents are. And then maybe dream about how you can use them. So I will tell you that this is a very, very happy birthday for me. And I think it's also a very spiritual birthday as well, because as we age, we are going to have to develop that feeling of self-knowledge and self-love and nurture that inside of us. As parts of our life get less physical, those should be supplemented by working on your spirituality and where you feel you fit into the universe. You know, you don't have to do anything big as you get older. I mean, I'm just somebody who always sees a bigger picture as the best way for me to go forward. But don't just drift. Put purpose to your life. Put meaning to your life. Put charity to your life. And God knows the world needs it. You know, other things that happened to me in my 70s were just amazing. So not only am I now totally active on Instagram and YouTube, and now have 2 podcasts, second one about fashion, I also became a cover girl on women's magazines twice during this year. Oh, thank you. This always happens to me. Happy birthday, me. I became a cover girl twice at the age of 78. I wrote and finished my 3rd book at the age of 78. A female international anthology about life's challenges. That became a bestseller on Amazon. I'm now about to work with a screenwriter, and we're writing the story of my life, which has been very dramatic and episodic. And I've got to do a lot of writing for that, and that will be completed hopefully by the beginning of next year. And then the beginning of next year, I'm going to start my 4th book, which is going to be all about modern aging, living smarter, living longer. So if this can work for you, I can tell you that these years can be so satisfying, so gratifying, so uplifting, and you can plan. And I think planning out your future, which society never tells us to do when we get old, they sort of tell you to get off center stage and go disappear somewhere. planning out your future. So I've got my screenplay. I've got my fourth book, which will probably take about a year to write, starting next year on 2025. That is invaluable. You're laying down stepping stones of life and a path and meaning and how to structure your day and how to fill up your time and how to accomplish new goals. And for me, it's all about, wow, I found I had a talent for speaking, but I also found I had a talent for taking those spoken stories and putting them on a written page and having it be from the heart and really authentic and emotional and helping other women get through something. And in my case, it was breast cancer treatment and a terrible, scary diagnosis in the beginning that maybe they don't know how to navigate or have the skills for. So, you know what? If I had to say something to society, it would be stop it. Stop putting out all this information that looks like these are the empty years in our lives, the years that don't count. In fact, they're the years that count the most in writing or framing our life story, and they're the most precious years. You know, sometimes when something is almost taken away from you, or it becomes limited, like I don't know about you, but for me, I think one of the biggest lessons, the most valuable lessons I learned from having a mortality based disease and working my way through it was, oh my God, I never realized how much I loved life until it was almost taken away from me. I think I feel the same way about aging, the way I would feel about a tremendous gourmet meal. You know, I was just in London, PR for the international anthology book, Women Thrive 3. And we went into Harrods department store and the Grand Food Hall. And my favorite thing to eat is sushi. I am obsessed with Japanese food and raw fish. So I ordered a dish that cost a fortune, was worth every penny. Toro, which is fatty belly tuna, and beluga caviar in the middle. So it's formed like a volcano with the caviar going down and spilling over. And oh, I just loved it. And then I stopped eating it for a few minutes because there were a few bites left. And I thought, oh my God, I don't know if I can bear to see this disappear. And you know, those bites, they tasted even more spectacular because that was it. I was finishing up. That's how I feel about life. No one is going to stop me from living the fullest, most spectacular years I have left. I am determined to make them wow years. And where did I learn that? I just believe it. And you can too. It's a better way to age. I hear the same thing from so many younger women who are, let's say, 40, 45, 50, who say, oh my God, Diane, my mother just turned 65. She just retired. She's so depressed. She feels so down, so disoriented, so useless, so purposeless. Well, guess what? Find your purpose. Find that as your mainstay. You know, who wants to live another 30 years if you're going to live miserable? It's not going to happen. That bad feeling, that feeling of emptiness has no purpose in your life, and you can be in control. You've got to do some deep thinking. You've got to be really truthful with yourself. You've got to know what you want and pursue it. You've got the freedom to do it. You've got the means to do it. Make the internet your best friend. Learn something new and something that is going to propel you forward. And you know what? There is nothing that can dissuade me from saying to you, your 50s, your 60s, your 70s, and now I'm about to walk into my 80s, can be the happiest, the most fulfilling, the best years of your life. So, wish me happy birthday. Of course, I bought a fashion present for myself from me to me. A beautiful leather blazer, because I'm like all over summer. Summer can go away now. I want fall. I want my blazers. I want my turtlenecks. I want my big scarves. I'm ready for it. But I'm also ready to be 79 and have the most productive, the most satisfying, the most spiritually uplifting year of my life. Cheers, everybody.
Thank you so much for listening to Too Young to Be Old podcast. The episode may be over, but the fun doesn't have to stop here. Find us on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube at The Diane Gilman, or visit our website, thedianegilman.com. If you like the show, leave us a rating or a review and subscribe so you don't miss the next episode. And until then, don't forget, age is just a number. Together, we'll prove that we are all too young to be old.